The 4th of March 2024, the Ukraine war. You're welcome back. And I'll just start by one point was made to me by a person on my farm who came to do a job for me the other day, was that there are huge farmers' protests going on in Europe and there's nothing about it on radio, television, just a little. Nothing like what was actually happening. And in fact, the German farmers got concessions. There has been riots with farmers in Brussels where they sprayed slurry all over the European Parliament and all of that, and huge standoffs there, all suppressed by radio, television in its fake news media. But I want to move to another thing. You know that in Ukraine, the Ukraine President Zelensky and his people offered and spoke this time last year about a spring offensive. Now, I had said that the Ukraine war would last 2 years, and now it turns out it's over 2 years now, and look, it'll last another one. I don't know. But I was right in a way in that I said it'd be a lot longer than all the good and the bad, all on the good and the great predicted. I was more right. But the point is, who in their right mind would tell their enemy they're going to launch a spring offensive? Huh? If you were going to attack, if you were an army in Cork and you're going to attack Limerick, wouldn't you say you're going to attack Wexford? You know, keep them over that side. This is a very old military way of doing things. Confuse your enemy. Instead of that, tell them exactly what they're going to do. What kind of idiots are there? I see it again. There's now talk of a new spring offensive. The Ukraine soldiers are giving up. You know, they're out in the woods, and when the Russians get near, they run away. And they had journalists over there from Britain and other places, and they warned the journalists to run out too, because they were getting too close. Now, the point is, Zelensky has come again, and those promoting him, we're doing another offensive. Huh? Telling their opponents that they're actually going to attack. How dumb can people get? The other thing is that all of the sides are running out of ammunition. They got so hotted up till the COVID about global warming, and then with the COVID, that they let their industries fail, and no mother or granny would vote for a government that promised to make bullets. Oh, I want to have bullets. Oh, jeez, I don't like them. Oh, no. I want a hospital. I want a new joint in my leg. I don't want guns. No, they have no guns. They can't get the big 150 millimeter. They're roughly 5-inch shell. They're a big bullet. And some of them have an explosive tip on them and all of this. They can't get them. They're sitting there with no ammunition. And there's videos of the troops on the front line in Ukraine, Ukrainian troops, saying we just can fire an odd shot and an odd bazooka here and there. We're short of ammunition. Now, when you think of that, isn't that some indictment of America and Europe? I don't think there's any limit on supplying ammunition to Ukraine. They don't have the ammunition. And Germany announced recently it's opening a new factory to produce shells. It won't be in operation for a year and a half. And then they have to make all the primers and the explosive compounds and all of that. So they're only starting now. So this shows you how quick the left, stupid, cultured and Marxist globalists can change. And I think eventually they'll drop this whole idea of renewable energy. They'll drop the whole climate change racket. They'll drop the whole LGBTQ woke thing, and they'll drop the migration somewhere when it finally dawns on them what's happening. And they expect me and they expect you to change with them all the way. Like Sinn Féin telling us years ago, do not vote for the EU. We do not want the EU. We don't want the European Union. And now they're among the strongest supporters of the EU. So how am I expected to change my mind to suit them? The answer, of course, is they are idiots. They are idiots. Eamon Ryan is trying to prove to the world that he's not an idiot. We'll deal with that in another day. But the whole house of cards is coming apart, and now we have the mess they're in. The next thing that happened is that France and Britain have troops overtraining the Ukraine in the Ukraine. In other words, they're giving them whatever weapons they have, and they're showing them how to use them, and they're actually firing them to try and kill and attack the Russians. And Putin probably knew this anyway, And he has said about how many thousands of foreign fighters he has killed. And a poster underneath here, and thank you very much for your post, I pick out the ones that are really informative, said that this poster knows a man who was in the Ukraine and ran home out of it. And in another video I saw, they say the brutality that the soldiers on the Ukraine side are receiving from the Russians is worse than anything ever experienced in war before. They were shocked about it. And the troops from abroad that went to Ukraine were shocked. They were all trained for hand-to-hand combat, snipers, rifles, all of that, and aerial bombardment. But in fact, when they stood on the line, they heard a whistle, and there was a quarter-ton load of explosives coming, and they had no way of knowing where it would land. And on day one, it landed 200 yards away. On day two, it landed 50 yards the other side and blew up a colleague. And the next day, it landed on them and blew their arms off. Or maybe they lived or whatever. So it's the reality of all of this is coming home to roost. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying that my channel here is about real true education, not fake news. It's about reality, and the reality is coming home to roost. In any event, one of the keys of having troops behind the lines helping Ukraine is to shut your mouth. Doon the veil is the Irish way of putting it. What fish never gets caught? The fish that never opens its mouth. What did the Germans do? Only announce that Britain had troops in Ukraine. German, an ally of Britain in NATO, and an ally of Britain in supporting the Ukraine, comes out and for no possible gain announced to the world that Britain has troops in Ukraine. You see, a key to all of this is you never give away information unless there's something in return, unless it's to fool someone or whatever. And there is no possible benefit in saying that there are English, British troops, British soldiers in Ukraine secretly. It's not a secret anymore, and this shows you what they are like. I also did a bit of study on Denmark, and we're so clean, we're green, we have wind energy, we're lovely. They are among the biggest supporters of war in the world. They're close to the hip with the United States in all of this, and they have an island that was beside where that Nord Stream 2 was blown up, and we don't know if they used it, but certainly they would have no problem with it being used to blow up Germany's gas supply. So the Denmarks are not anything like they propose to be. This whole green stuff is all a veneer, to keep the population voting the right way, and to keep the population deluded, and to keep the politicians deluded and spouting nonsense out of them while this rascality goes on. Whatever the rights and wrongs of Ukraine, I claim it was preventable. Putin is entitled to say that it should not be in NATO, and he shouldn't be surrounded by NATO countries. I think a deal could work out. But I have to say, again, going back to this the reality is the Crimea will not be returned to Ukraine, and the eastern provinces of Donetsk and the other provinces that are not going back to Ukraine, whether they like it or not. And the whole West with Biden and the whole lot are all slowly but surely having to come to terms with the fact that what they wanted and what they craved is not what they're going to get. That's not what they're going to get. Now, is might right? Is power right? It doesn't matter. If that's the situation, then that's the way it is. If some country has a lot of power, it can bully around. And if it hasn't, it can only do the best it can. And there is an effort to shake off the Western power from the rest of the world, and that's another day. But we have to be realistic. Well, with friends like Germany, with Britain's friend Germany, telling the Russians what they're doing, what Britain's doing in the Ukraine secretly. Who needs enemies? Why would you want an enemy? You have Germany to do the mouthing for you. They can't shut the bloody big fat gobs. And that's my story, folks. And the one thing about Trump, I don't want to push him too much. I don't know will he get through, but he's doing well. The one thing about Trump is that he told it as it was. He was usually building places, doing a bit of rooting and wheeling and dealing, and he just took that to his job in the White House, and that turned the whole establishment upside down. For there is no doubt that there is a hidden state in which involves Britain, the United States, Canada, and now the European Union, which wants to form a rump of power and wants to control the whole world. Ursula von der Leyen was over in Africa trying to tell them what to do and all of that, and that is under threat. That is what Trump threatened. Trump decided to go against that, and here, can we fix this up and can we have a bit of a chat and all of that? But there was no real badness in the man. He wouldn't be all I want, but there was no real badness. He was out to do a good job and leave a good legacy after him. But they are doing everything they can to get rid of him. The like of this was never seen before. And I believe that the Chief Justice, is he Brown? He's a coloured man on the Supreme Court, asked the prosecutors prosecuting Trump and tried to keep him off the ballot paper for an example of where a presidential candidate was not allowed to stand before the people. And the response was, we can't find any. So it doesn't look too bad there. I think they probably will let him onto the ballot papers. Some of Illinois took him off the ballot paper recently. So this is a fight. This is a fight for good and bad in the West, and the rest of the world has already decided they're not having it and they're not putting up with it. And we have to watch how the pro-Ukraine side squirm and twist and do all they can, and they are not going to win. And it's a question of how long it takes it to sink in to the small, childish little minds. Give me a thumbs up, comment underneath. Please be aware of the difference in the facts I give you and my opinion. I try to make it clear where my opinion is, and I try to keep the facts slightly separate, but it's not an exact science and I don't always get it right. Keep commenting underneath, and folks, we'll see you back for something else soon, and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.